Okay, so I am going to do problem number 1 from your homework. This is a review from what we worked on today, and it will also count as a review for you to do your homework tonight. So there's a few things that we talked about today in class, but the biggest thing that we focused on today was the least common denominator. So least common denominator. Sometimes you will see it written out like this. Sometimes you will see it as LCD, okay? That is sometimes what you'll see on tests, sometimes what you'll see on homework and things like that. On the homework, I just put least common denominator, so you know exactly what that means. So, the least common denominator is the bottom half of our fraction, and that is what we use. It's the smallest number that both numbers are able to go into evenly. So I'm going to explain that as we go a little bit better. So number 1 on the homework was 3/4 and 5/6. Ignore my handwriting. It's something I'm getting used to writing on here. So 3/4 and 5/6. Okay, so we want to find the least common denominator for both of these numbers. So one way we can do this is by looking at both the denominators, which in this case it's 4 and 6, and listing the multiples of those numbers. So I'm going to do that down here. So if we list the multiples of 4, I would say list the first 5 or 6, maybe 7. And if we still don't get it, keep listing until you find it. Some people can just see what it is based on the two numbers, but if you can't, I'm going to list them for you. So for 4, we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. That's the first 6. And then if I listed the multiples for 6, I would do 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and 36. So that's the first 6 for both of those numbers. Then what I would do is I would look and see what they have in common. First, we can see that they have 12. They also have 24. The reason why we pick 12 in this case is because it's the least common denominator. It's the smallest number, okay, that they both have in common. The smallest number that they both have in common. So from here, things are going to be a little bit different. So we would write 3/4. And since we're using 12 as our denominator, we're going to set that equal to 12. And then we'd write 5/6 and set that equal to 12 as well. Okay. Now we have to figure out how to change these fractions. So I'm going to use blue actually. So 4 multiplied by something is 12. Well, we know that 4 multiplied by 3 is 12. Whatever I do to the bottom half of my fraction, I have to do to the top as well. So because I multiplied the bottom by 3, I have to multiply the top by 3. So 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. And then over here, looking at the 5/6, to go from 6 to 12, we have to multiply that by 2, okay? So we know 6 times 2 is 12. Whatever we do to the bottom half of our fraction, we always have to do to the top. So that would make that one 10. So our final answer is 9/12 and 10/12. So on your homework, it said, find the least common denominator and write equivalent fractions. So we found the least common denominator, that being 12, okay? And we wrote equivalent fractions down here, 9/12 and 10/12. Ooh, hopefully my handwriting gets better as I continue to work on the iPad. Come with questions tomorrow. Finish up the other problems on the paper. That last problem, write at least one thing that you are struggling with in math or would like to get better at. If you write fractions, I would like you to be specific. Are you struggling with simplifying fractions? Are you struggling with finding common denominators? Are you struggling with getting equivalent fractions? Be specific. Don't just write fractions. Okay, guys? Again, come with your questions. If this helped, And don't make my making you guys helps you a whole bunch. Do your homework.